Today we are looking at my top 5 easy to keep beginner corals. It's a common misconception that easy to keep corals are pretty bland, pretty boring, there's no colour, but there are some absolutely awesome corals out there that are really easy to keep and absolutely stunning. So today we're going to go through my top 5. Before we get started, I want to know what is your favourite coral. It doesn't have to be a beginner coral, I just want to know in general what is your favourite coral species to keep. Drop it down in the comments below and let's get started. In at number 5, we've got the rock flower anemone. If you are looking to add a splash of colour to the bottom of your tank, then look no further. Rock flowers come in a wide variety of colour morphs and patterns, and unlike some anemones, they won't do laps around your tank, stinging every coral in their path looking for that perfect spot. I have a total of 4 in my tank, and other than moving an inch to the left or to the right, they've pretty much stayed exactly where I placed them. They're extremely peaceful and enjoy low to medium flow and low to medium light. They do like to bury their foot within the rocks or sand, so do bear that in mind when you're placing them. A nice rocky area at the bottom of the tank is probably best suited. These guys are extremely hardy and can tolerate a wide variety of tank conditions. They are photosynthetic, so they do feed off the light. They do have sticky tentacles, so they will actively feed on any excess fish food that passes by. They are fascinating creatures to watch, and they do create symbiotic relationships with sexy shrimp and porcelain crabs. Sexy shrimps I used to have in my nano tank with my rock flower, and I've just recently added a porcelain crab to my 250. So watching that settle in and create that relationship is pretty cool to watch. I think you'll agree rock flowers definitely deserve a place on this list. Number 4, we've got the Discosoma Mushroom. It's the first soft coral hitting the list. There are a good variety of mushrooms available in the reefing hobby, but I've chosen Discosoma specifically as I found them to be the hardiest species. There are some stunning morphs out there, and I mean absolutely stunning morphs out there. Check out this one featured on Reef Builders a few years back. I'm pretty sure it's valued at around $10,000, so it definitely wasn't for the faint-hearted, but you really don't need to spend a ton of money to get yourself a really beautiful morph. I've got a few in my tanks, and I don't think I've spent any more than £25 per leaf. My personal favourite being the passion fruit, but there really are some great morphs out there to suit any budget. If you do have a bigger budget and you're looking for something a bit more high-end, check out some jawbreakers. They've got some crazy colours and some crazy patterns, and honest to God, they are absolutely stunning. I haven't had the heart to go out and buy one myself. I'm still just starting to get into mushrooms myself, and I'm a little bit scared of some of these jawbreakers. But apparently they're just as easy to keep as budget discos, but they just grow a lot slower. They do best in low light and low flow areas, but once they're settled, they'll get nice and big, and eventually they'll start spreading over the rocks and producing pups. In at number 3, we've got the torch coral. Torches are a stunning LPS coral. That's large polyp stony corals, and it's one of 2 LPS corals on this list. They are a great addition to any reef tank, no matter the size. I've got them in my nano tank, and I do also have them in my bigger display tank. The movement they create is mesmerising. I can literally watch them swaying majestically in the flow for hours on end. They do require stable alkalinity to keep them happy long term, but they're still a beginner coral, and they can certainly be kept in a tank that's solely relying on water changes to maintain stable parameters. I personally prefer Indonesian torches. I find them to be a lot more forgiving with parameter swings than Australian torches. I've personally lost a few Aussie torches in the past, mainly due to my own errors, but my Indo torches have proven to be pretty much bulletproof. Do make sure you give them a little bit of space. Their polyps can be deadly to most corals they come into contact with, so a little bit of space around the torch is probably best. They do enjoy medium random flow. I've kept them in higher flow, but they seem to do best in medium random flow and also medium light. You can keep them in high light. I've had great success keeping my Indonesian torches in high light. They do take a lot of time to acclimate to that higher light, so make sure if you're doing that, take it nice and slow. But the growth rate I got from keeping them in higher light was probably 2 times the growth rate I kept them in lower light. So just bear that in mind. Take it nice and slow when you're acclimating these corals to the higher light. So that is number 3, the torch coral. In at number 2, we've got micro lords. Some of you may know these as acans, and honestly it wasn't until recently that I actually stopped calling them acans and started calling them their correct name, which is Micromussa lords, or micro lords for short. They're another LPS coral, and they can be placed close together to create a great centerpiece for any reef tank. This picture from Secret Reef is a perfect example of what can be achieved with these stunning LPS corals. He's placed together some great contrasting colours, and it is an awesome micro lord garden. I dread to think what he spent on creating this, but I think you'll agree it does look pretty cool. They like low light, and the sandbed is probably the best spot for these guys, or on the outer rocks at the bottom of your reefscape. I find they do best in low to medium flow. They're also really good at letting you know when they're hungry, as their feeding tentacles will extend, and they're the only coral in my reef tank that I will actually take the time to target feed, as they love nothing more than to munch on a little bit of mice, shrimp or krill. So that is number 2, micro lords. In at number 1, we've got zoanthids. Anyone who knows me would pretty much guess that I'd pick zoanthids. I've got them dotted all around my tanks, and they're not only my favourite beginner coral, but they're one of my favourite corals for any ability. In my opinion, they're one of the nicest soft corals you can buy, and also one of the cheapest. As long as you don't get caught up in the high-end zoa trends, which I've done in the past, there really are some bargains to be had. They come in an almost unlimited amount of colour morphs to choose from, and they look great when you're placing them together in contrasting colours to create what's known as a zoa garden. Some hobbyists even have zoa only tanks, and this is actually something that I plan on doing in a not so distant future. They're a really forgiving coral, and they can tolerate a wide variety of tank conditions. I find they do best in low to medium flow, and also low to medium light. They're a relatively fast growing coral, and they're super easy to propagate. With the right tools and safety gear, if you do start fragging zoas, make sure you do your research. They can release a pretty nasty palytoxin if handled incorrectly, so you just got to make sure that you're wearing the right safety gear and you've done your research. Their ease of propagation is great because you can pick up some really well priced zoa frags from fellow hobbyists by popping onto eBay or your favourite reefing forum like Reef to Reef or Ultimate Reef. I think you'll agree they are a stunning coral and well deserved as the top spot in this list. So that wraps up my top 5 awesome beginner corals. If you've enjoyed the video, please do drop it a like, and if you haven't already, please do subscribe to the channel. I'll catch you next week, guys.